Okay, I just want to go through the updates, the COVID SARS-CoV-2 variants, which are prevalent at the moment. The listed variants of concern are the following: XBB.1.5, XBB.1.16, XBB.1.9, XBB.2.3, CH.1.1, which I believe is offspring from a variant of concern before, which was called BA.2.75, and then we got XBB. Then I've got listed here, this is on the site, outbreak, previous variants, Alpha, the one in the UK, Beta, the one from South Africa, Gamma, the one in Brazil, Delta, the one in India, and a whole stack of other ones that never got very far, like Kappa, which I believe was in New York or California, Lambda, I can't remember where that was, Mu, Theta, Zeta. Anyhow, what's going on? Let's have a look at Australia. Actually, there are lots of variants that are not listed here. What's important to note here, the X in front of most of these variants means that it was a crossover, and a crossover comes about in the following way. When a virus enters a cell, it asks your DNA to make a copy of it. So it uses your DNA to make a copy. Sometimes it'll make an error, and we say that it mutates when that happens. And what happens then is that only one gene is changed. I can't remember how many genes SARS-CoV-2 has, 30,000, whatever. Anyhow, when someone is infected with two different variants, then what can happen is that as each variant is talking to your DNA to make a copy of itself, what happens is that it has a point where it crosses over from one of the variants to the other variant. So the two variants that are in the person is infected with two variants at the same time. Not only that, they're in the same cell. Not only that, crossover takes place, and when it does, you basically have what's equivalent to sex, although you don't have male and female virus versions, but you have the equivalent of sex because you get offspring, which are the crossover between them. And these can change a lot more than when a single gene mutates. Now, the situation now with COVID is that all of the variants that are basically out there, practically all of them, are recombinant variants. That's why you got the X in front. There's a couple of recombinant variants that they didn't talk about very much. Australia had one called XBF, and I have to remember what XBF was. XBF was a crossover between the variants BA.5.2, which was a variant in its own right, and CJ.1. Okay, and Australia also had another variant called XBC, which is a recombinant formed from the variant of concern called BA.2. That was in fact the variant of concern in its own right, with the Delta variant. And this one occurred in the Philippines in late 2021 or mid 2021, I guess. And so that's been around for nearly 2 years. Now, it's been in Australia for quite some time, and it hasn't quite gone away, because even if you look at more recent data, you'll notice there's still some versions of XBC around. We've got XBC.1.6.3, XBC.1.6.1. Now it is still going. What is the most prevalent at the moment seems to be XBB.1.16. It's got a name, Articus or something, I believe, and it's got a whole stack of sub lineages like XBB.1.16.2, XBB.1.16.1, XBB.1.16.3, and I believe XBB.1.16.4. One of them, I think XBB.1.16.3, is that even on here yet? If its prevalence hasn't been around for a while, it won't appear on this chart. But I believe that has a mutation which of a gene that is there to check that the virus has been replicated properly. And so that mutation now means that the virus is able to mutate more because it's not checking itself as much. So, this is the one to watch at the moment, XBB.1.16. But I just wanted to point out that we had all these other variants before, like this was also a variant of concern in its own right at one time, BR.2.1. This one here, XBB.1.5 Kraken, that's slowly getting replaced by sub lineages of itself and XBB.1.16. What I found interesting is when I looked at XBB.1.5, first thing you notice, it's practically all around the world already. It was most prevalent around March of this year. And what's happening is that they called it a Kraken. They said it's the most contagious, infectious variant around, but it's splitting up into a whole stack of sub lineages like XBB.1.15, XBB.1.17, so on. There's a whole stack of them. There's 148 or something, 31. And ones that are winning out, ones that appear to be winning out, are like XBB.1.5.24, XBB.1.5.37. So one of these is going to basically replace that one, and then a new one will emerge. And we actually now at a situation where we may get a crossover between two crossover variants. So I guess we're going to have to start using names like XX because we've had crossover twice. I still don't understand why it is that they still refer to these variants as Omicron, because they're not really Omicron at all. They are a lot weaker than the previous variants. The case fatality rate or the death rate of Omicron is about 1/20th or maybe even less of the Delta variant. So that is the situation at the moment. But the one that I'm thinking may explode, well, really the one that is exploding is XBB.1.16 and its sub-lineages. But there was one of these ones here, XBB.1.5.23, and I think France has XBB.1.5.24. Then there's the whole stack of variants in China as well, and Japan and South Korea. The problem is a lot of countries are not actually keeping track of the variants, so it's basically it's free for all. And in Australia, 200 people are still dying every week from COVID. And the with COVID tag, when they used to, when they wanted people to take the vaccine, they used to classify someone as died from COVID if they had COVID when they died. they're not using that anymore because they're trying to hide it. They're trying to make out as if COVID's gone. The new narrative that the government has is that COVID's gone. The pandemic is finished. Don't worry about it. But 200 people are dying every week. Now, that means in 5 weeks, as many people die from COVID as die on the road in 5 weeks. So, and these variants are mutating faster and faster and faster, and we just get wave upon wave upon wave.